Today I'd like to share with you 4 different reharmonization techniques that will keep you busy for a lifetime. And don't feel bad if you don't get these all at once, because it's taken me a lifetime to get them all down. The first principle is for any major chord, you can substitute the relative minor chord as long as the melody will tolerate it. And that's true of any chord substitution, any reharmonization. The melody has to tolerate what you're doing. If it clashes with what you're doing, then you can't use that. But for any major chord, you can substitute the relative minor chord. Now, what's the relative minor chord to C major? Well, if you count up 6 degrees, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that becomes the root of the relative minor. So A minor is relative to C major. So I can substitute A minor for C major. Listen. You see, that sounds fine too. Okay, I could have played C, but I went to A minor. Okay, so that's the first principle. For any major chord, you can substitute its relative minor. The second principle is for any dominant 7th chord, any 7th chord like that, not a major 7th chord, but a dominant 7th chord, you can substitute a chord that's a 4th below and build a minor 7th on it. In other words, for C7, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can build a minor 7th chord in place of C7 and substitute for it. Then often what you do is then you resolve back to the original chord. Okay? Let's take Silent Night. Now here's C7. Well, I'm going to make G minor 7 before I resolve to C7 and then go on. Okay? So the second rule is for any dominant 7th chord, you go down a 4th and build a minor 7th. So for G7th, what would you do? Go down a 4th from G and build a minor 7th. That would be D minor 7th. Okay? The third rule of chord substitutions is to ask yourself into what other chord this note fits. Okay? In other words, if your melody is C, what other chord will, if your melody is G, what other chord will G fit in? Well, it'll fit in the G chord. Now, everything won't sound good, but you can try and, this is a trial and error kind of thing. What else is G in? It's in the A minor 7th chord. What else is G in? It's in the, let's see, it's in the E flat chord, like so. Okay, so you can ask yourself into what other chord will this note fit? It's a major 7th of A flat. So let's review a little bit. Our first rule was for any major chord, you can substitute a relative minor 7th, relative minor chord. Okay. The second rule was for any dominant 7th chord, you can go down a 4th and build a minor 7th. And the third rule was for any chord at all, ask yourself into what other chord this melody note will fit. Say your melody is E. What else will E fit in besides C? Well, it'll fit in A, it'll fit in A minor, it'll fit in F major 7th, F minor 7th, lots and lots of chords, okay? And the fourth rule of chord substitution is to do a half-step slide. In other words, let's say you're on G minor 7th going to F. You'll just slide down and up. You see, I'm going by half steps. And that'll, for example, if I'm going from G7, I can do a half-step slide into C. Okay? Not going up or down a half-step, but what's a half-step above C? D flat. So I can go like so. Now I'm going to play Silent Night all the way so you can hear all these techniques, and I'll call them out. Relative minor. Ask yourself into what other chord this fits. Okay, and the chord should be G minor 7 or G7, so I'll substitute a D minor 7th for that, because I'll go down 4 notes. Then I'll go back to it. Now for C7th, I'll substitute G minor 7th, then go up a half step slide. Ask myself into what other this note would fit, and E minor came to me. A minor, D minor, E minor, A minor, D minor, B flat. Now how to get B flat? Well, B flat fits in the, F, the melody fits in the B flat chord, doesn't it? A minor, D 7th, C. Now I could end on C, shouldn't I? But I'm going to end on A flat for variety, and then D flat and C. Now you're going to say, good grief, how am I going to learn all those? Well, you're not. You're not going to learn them for a while, but you can begin the process, can't you? It took me a whole lifetime to master those 4 chords re-harmonization techniques. So go to it, and let's review them once more. For any major chord, you can substitute its relative minor. For any dominant 7th chord, you can substitute a chord that's a 4th below and middle of minor 7th. You can do a half-step slide. And the 4th one is to ask yourself into what other chord this melody note fits. Okay, that's it. Thanks for being with me. See you again soon.